He called himself the brother leader. He built rivers under deserts, gave away free housing, and transformed Libya into a major oil power. But he also funded terrorists, crushed dissent, and ruled through fear for over 40 years. In the end, he was found hiding in a drainpipe, bloody, broken, and begging for his life. This is the incredible rise and violent fall of Muammar Gaddafi, one of the most unpredictable leaders of the modern era. Muammar Gaddafi was born in 1942 in the Libyan desert, in a Bedouin tent. His family was poor, nomadic, and deeply tied to tribal traditions. But even as a boy, Gaddafi was obsessed with politics. He read about colonialism, the struggles of Arab nations, and the rise of powerful leaders like Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser. In Nasser, Gaddafi saw a role model, a man who had overthrown a king and defied the West. This dream would become his mission. By the late 1960s, Libya was ruled by King Idris, an aging monarch seen as out of touch and too friendly with the West. Gaddafi, now a young officer in the army, quietly built a network of loyalists. And on September 1st, 1969, while the king was out of the country, Gaddafi struck. It was a bloodless coup. No tanks in the streets, no gunfire. Just like that, a 27-year-old army captain became the ruler of Libya. The monarchy was gone. A new era had begun. At first, Gaddafi was popular. He used Libya's oil money to offer free education, free health care, and huge infrastructure projects. He built roads, schools, and even started an ambitious project called the Great Man-Made River, a network of underground pipelines bringing water to desert cities. But Gaddafi didn't believe in democracy. Instead, he created his own system, outlined in a strange little book he wrote himself, the Green Book. It claimed that parliaments were fake, elections were a lie, and true democracy meant citizens running everything through local people's committees. But in reality, Gaddafi made every decision himself. Libya was not a democracy. It was a dictatorship with revolutionary branding. As years passed, Gaddafi became strange. He wore sunglasses at night, dressed in flashy uniforms, and traveled with a squad of female bodyguards trained in martial arts. He insisted on sleeping in a tent, even during visits to Europe or the UN. He called himself the King of Kings of Africa. But behind the costumes and theatrics was a dangerous man. He ruled through fear. Dissent was crushed. Opponents disappeared. And outside Libya, Gaddafi was starting to make enemies. Gaddafi saw himself as a revolutionary hero, not just for Libya, but for the whole world. So he funded armed groups in other countries, the IRA in Northern Ireland, rebel movements in Africa, Palestinian militants. The West called him a sponsor of terror. In 1986, after a bombing in Berlin killed American soldiers, the U.S. struck back. President Ronald Reagan ordered airstrikes on Tripoli and Benghazi. Gaddafi survived, but his adopted daughter was killed. And then came Lockerbie. In 1988, a passenger plane was blown up over Scotland. 270 people were killed. The world pointed at Libya. Sanctions followed. Gaddafi became an international outcast. But after the 9/11 attacks, Gaddafi did something no one expected. He changed sides. He condemned terrorism, handed over suspects, and shut down his weapons programs. Suddenly, the West welcomed him back. Tony Blair visited Libya. U.S. officials shook his hand. Gaddafi was no longer the mad dog of the Middle East. He was a new kind of partner. But at home, the dictatorship remained. There were no elections, no free press, just fear. In 2011, everything changed. Protests erupted across the Arab world, from Tunisia to Egypt to Yemen. And soon, Libya followed. It began in Benghazi. Ordinary people took to the streets, demanding freedom and dignity. Gaddafi responded with tanks and snipers. He went on TV and vowed to hunt protesters house to house. But his threats only fueled the rebellion. The international community intervened. The United Nations authorized a no-fly zone. NATO launched airstrikes to protect civilians. City after city fell to rebel forces. By October 2011, Gaddafi was on the run, hiding in his hometown, Sirte. He moved from house to house, sleeping in abandoned buildings, constantly changing location. Then, on October 20th, NATO jets bombed his convoy as he tried to flee. Wounded, Gaddafi crawled into a drainpipe. Moments later, rebel fighters dragged him out. He was beaten, humiliated, and filmed begging for mercy. He died the way he ruled, chaotic, violent, and shocking. After Gaddafi's death, Libya descended into chaos. There was no plan, no strong institutions, just tribes, militias, and foreign interests. Within a year, the country split. Two rival governments formed. Warlords fought for power. ISIS took control of parts of the country. Oil exports plummeted. The dream of freedom turned into a nightmare. Gaddafi promised revolution. He brought both progress and pain. But in the end, his greatest failure was this: he built a country that could not survive without him.